Okay, it's now time for our next presentation. And again, it's from a representative of IMAS. And this gentleman comes from BlackRock, which I believe is the largest asset manager in the world. And it's my pleasure now to introduce Mr. Ian Kitchenham, the Chief Operating Officer for Global Credit in Asia Pacific at BlackRock, and he's based in Singapore. And Ian is responsible for driving the development and execution of regional strategic priorities for the global credit platform and overseeing platform operations in Asia-Pac on a day-to-day basis. And the title of the challenge is Digital ESG Reporting Tool for Asset Management Firms. And again, ESG, we're referring to environmental, social, and governance standards. So I'd like to hand you over to Mr. Ian. Ian, are you there? Mr. Ian Kitchenham, thank you.
Thanks, Billy. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay, and potentially even see me on.
Okay, hear you okay. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks for the introduction. So hi everyone, my name is Ian Kitchenham, and I'm here today representing IMAS and BlackRock as partners in digital innovation. Just as a little bit of background, BlackRock is one of the world's largest leading asset management firms. As a fiduciary, we manage about $8 trillion of investments around the world in Asian companies, and European companies, and US companies. In our business, technology and digital innovation is both a huge investment opportunity, but also a fundamental business enabler. Here in Singapore, we're proud to be part of the Investment Management Association of Singapore, which is obviously the national representative body of investment managers. And we're very proud of the work that IMAS and to the extent we have done in developing the asset management industry here in Singapore for the past 24 or so years. IMAS members manage over $1.4 trillion on behalf of our clients, and we work really closely with government and regulators in building and enhancing the investment management ecosystem in Singapore. So my day job is in alternative investments as the Chief Operating Officer for BlackRock's global credit platform here in Asia. We invest about $50 billion in Asian companies, and one of the key areas of expansion, interest, and development for us is with regards to environmental, social, and governance considerations. At IMAS, I'm a member of the Digital Innovation Committee, and we run innovation collaboration programs with fintechs such as Fintech Jams and various digital innovation programs. And importantly, we engage regulators, organize industry discussions, and constantly seek to provide both clarity for our partners and to identify cutting-edge and disruptive technology solutions, which really brings me on to our innovation challenge today. So let me talk a little bit about our problem statement. So environmental, social and governance, or ESG considerations, are an important topic geopolitically, and they're now definitely front and center in the minds of investors around the world. In 2020, the EU, China, Japan and South Korea all made historic commitments to achieve net zero emissions over the next 20 to 30 years. With the changing of the guard in the US political space, the US has also committed to rejoining the Paris Agreement. And our CEO and chairman, Larry Fink, has been very public in stating BlackRock's position that there's no company whose business model won't be profoundly affected by the transition to a net zero economy over the next 20 to 30 years. So no investment firm can ignore the change that is already happening and will accelerate over the coming years. Now, these changes are generational, but even as we sit here today, our clients, our investors want to know that their investments are not exposed to undue ESG risks. And increasingly, we see demand from investors that their money is put to use in a way that can have a positive impact on ESG and sustainability factors, or at the very least, avoid undue harm. So our problem statement focuses on one or a narrower aspect of the challenge that investors face. Namely, is it possible to have consistent and timely measurement of ESG standards and requirements to enable asset managers to incorporate these ESG considerations into investment portfolios, and importantly, to give investors and clients the visibility they need to make informed investment allocation decisions? Now, a combination of factors led to this problem statement. Today, the market is still in the process of defining standardized ESG definitions and requirements. There's expanding science and thinking on how to measure ESG risks, and this is leading to a wide and expanding range of ESG inputs. In terms of how we run our business, we also see varying regulatory requirements and fragmented global standards, which will continue to grow. They'll continue to evolve, and it won't always be in a coordinated or linear fashion. So the whole industry, whether it's clients, managers, or the companies that we're investing in, are really running to catch up and do the right thing, but get ahead of this trend. I mean, just this week, for example, we've seen the European Union implement sustainable finance disclosure regulations. Many people know this as SFDR. This is a set of regulations that govern European investment managers, but actually have a global impact, because any global investment manager that manages money on behalf of Europeans or would like to market their funds into Europe are caught by these regulations. And every time one jurisdiction or one region comes out with these rules, all managers have to work out how they adapt. And this is particularly difficult for smaller managers who don't potentially have large technology or compliance or government relations teams to kind of cope with the scale and momentum of change. The one thing is sure with the development of ESG is that all of the factors I've mentioned combine to cause pretty manual and often non-scalable processes, ambiguity and difficulty in delivering visibility around ESG and reporting that our investment managers and our clients need. So we're therefore really looking for prototype solutions, ideally working prototype solutions that can help support investment managers in efficiently managing ESG investment considerations. Solutions can include features, for example, such as automated data gathering on changing government or industry requirements and regulations, digital reporting capabilities more specific to ESG, digital collaboration tools, or sentiment analysis that can inform about what the market is thinking around various ESG factors over time. It's obviously a huge area. We don't want to be too prescriptive and are very open to innovative solutions. But I think it might be useful just to think about a couple of possible use cases to help provide some clarity in how we think this through. So one example could be in the area of ESG government relations and regulatory requirements, where a digital solution could revolutionize the monitoring of and adaptation to the reporting of changing regulatory requirements. So when a regulator issues new rules around ESG, how does a manager find out about those rules? How do they react to those rules? How do they implement those rules? How do they report against those rules? The question here is really how to make that feedback loop between regulators and market practitioners and our clients more efficient and more effective. A second use case could be in the area of portfolio risk analysis, where embedding something like a digital engine could make incorporating, measuring and implementing views of ESG factors within an investment portfolio more efficient. In particular, processing the data around these factors and representing them in a way that our clients can understand could be a real value add in the kind of production chain. So having said all that, we're very excited to see what applicants can come up with. In common with the other challenges, we're pleased to offer prize money of $20,000 to the challenge winner, along with the opportunity to become part of the Singapore Industry Network, where we give you the commitment as IMAS and BlackRock to partner together to kind of develop, fast track and showcase the solution to the market. I think the deadline is consistent 4 p.m. on March the 19th, and we look forward to an exciting outcome. Now, Billy, just before I open the floor to questions, we actually got a couple in advance. So I think we posted a short video on IMAS website sort of flagging this fantastic event. The first question I received was, is a working prototype required by the application date next week? The answer to that is no, but it needs to be more than just a concept. And it needs to be something actionable and something that can become a prototype, very soon. And the second question I received was, is there data available that we can see and that we can use to start plugging into potential solutions? And the answer there is absolutely yes. If you go on to the website of groups like MSCI, one of the big index providers, or Sustainalytics, they make their ESG ratings of companies publicly available and searchable via the website. So it's actually quite easy to find sample information around ESG in the public sphere. So with that, Billy, why don't I hand back over to you for Q&A?
Okay, thank you, Ian. Okay, we have more questions coming in. So this is one from one of our anonymous attendees. So, okay, this question is about, there are multiple ESG reports filed by third-party partners. So for this challenge, is there a subscription for these sources? And this person would like to, can we standardize the basis for companies? And also, is there scope for any specific country? Okay, Ian, I am having a bit of difficulty trying to understand this question. Perhaps it's more up your alley.
Yeah, sure. So I think I'll answer I think this is really two questions. And I think the first question I would answer in the sense that most investment managers will probably already have subscriptions for the main data providers of ESG data. I think there will be ways of making sure we have availability of the data on that platform. It kind of depends on the exact nature of the solution as to what the subscription and economic model and legal agreements need to be. But I'm not concerned about that, because I think all ESG data providers are actually fairly open in terms of how they run their business models. The second point around, is this for a particular country or jurisdiction? I think the answer is no, because actually the problem is a global one, and the solution, I think, needs to be a global one. Now, clearly, we have a focus as IMAS, BlackRock as partner of IMAS, on developing the market here in Singapore. But I don't think we intend to develop anything in Singapore that could not have very broad applicability around the world. Like, Singapore here is as a thought leader, but it's not a Singapore solution.
Okay, so it's a very outward-looking solution. It's for the global market, if possible. Yeah. Okay, got it. Okay, well, a couple of questions coming fast and furious. All right. Are you looking at an app or web platform for your solution?
Either.
Okay, so it's don't constrain yourself. Offer whatever solution you think works best for IMAS. All right. Okay, next. Okay, who will be the main user of this platform?
So the main users of this platform will be investment managers.
Investment managers, okay.
I think this is either for integrating ESG into the kind of underwriting and portfolio management of underlying investments, and or the reporting of that to our clients.
Okay, there's a question again about, this came in earlier, so I'd like to flag it. Can a solution be based on one or several commercial products, or should it be based on the use of technologies and not products? How would you answer that, Ian?
I'm not sure I completely understand the question, but I think, to be perfectly honest, whether it's product or technology, I think we're agnostic, because again, I don't think this is in a sense, this isn't a single issue, and there isn't a single solution, if you see what I mean. So I think we would be open to talking about both.
Okay, so I suppose the general answer is that we are open to all sorts of possible approaches, right, to solve this problem, right? So don't limit yourself to whatever's on the shelf or off the shelf. Yeah, I suspect that that's what we are looking for. Okay, and then Peter Chan is asking, what is the current workflow around how the asset manager is notified by the regulator of changes in regulations? The current workflow.
Yeah. So that's a great question, and that's one of the key problems is, and the answer is it kind of depends, right? And that itself is one of the challenges. So some particularly the larger investment managers have big government relations teams, and work with groups like AIMA, the Alternative Investment Management Association, or SIFMA, or various other industry bodies in partnership with regulators. Typically, and this is not standard because every country or every jurisdiction does things differently, a set of proposals will be developed in kind of a white paper form by regulators or a group of regulators, which will be published out for comment to the industry and industry participants like ourselves at investment managers, and we'll respond, and there'll be kind of a to and fro process over a period of months or years, and then depending on the regulatory and legislative body, that will be written into law and implemented. Now, there are certain jurisdictions where that doesn't happen and the pace of change is much faster. China is a perfect example of a market where actually things move much faster, and the kind of the cadence and the traditional kind of, I'd say, sort of consultation process can be vastly condensed, you know, in the kind of spirit of development. So, you know, that in itself is a challenge because, you know, different countries, different regulators have different approaches to how they launch new regulation and how they consult about that.
Okay, so it sounds like it's a very complex process across different countries. So I hope the proposed solution will be scalable enough and adaptable enough to, you know, manage all these different regimes. Yeah. Okay, there's a question that's very specific. Ian, why not just use Sustainalytics?
Yeah, so Sustainalytics is a very important part of, I would say, a toolkit. I know, you know, and it provides ESG ratings and to an extent a technology platform for specific companies. But it is just one of a range of similar companies. Sustainalytics is a company owned by Morningstar. Now, investment managers, I think, you know, ultimately, you know, our clients are looking for kind of an open or free market approach, and tying an entire solution to one company such as Sustainalytics, you know, may well be a good thing, but it probably doesn't answer the whole question. And obviously, as people start, you know, incorporating ESG into things like investment decisions, you know, companies, investment managers, clients will want to and need to build their own views around sustainability. So I don't think anyone would advocate for just using one single source of, you know, of data, if that makes sense.
Okay, I think the reason why we have all these challenges is because there's no magical tool on the market that can instantly solve all these issues. Therefore, we need to have a call out to the general, you know, tech solver community to come up with possible solutions that we can explore in prototype. Okay, Ian, I believe that's just about all the questions, so we can let you off the hook right now. Thank you very much for a great presentation, and thank you very much for answering the questions. So once again, Ian is representing IMAS in this challenge. Thank you, Ian.
Thanks, Billy.